decisions. These are my 8 decisions. These are my 8 decisions. The decisions for success. These are my 8 decisions.
Matt, good to see you.
You too, man.
Man, we first met a while ago and really got to spend some good quality time. It's almost been a year.
Yeah.
Since March of 24.
Yeah. And I met you a little before then. You called me about the retreat where I met you in person.
That's right. We started a relationship on a Zoom call.
Yeah. And what's interesting, we've talked a lot about where I was mentally in my life and my career as an entrepreneur. And that call was scheduled when Madison and I were staying in one of my Airbnbs in downtown Louisville. And we were working through an EOS. We had set aside 3 days, morning to night, working on EOS, restructuring the business, figuring out the vision of the business, where we wanted it to go, where I wanted it to go. I was experiencing a loss of inspiration in the role that I had created, business I had created. And so I was trying to figure out a way to structure the business to exit, really, way to, well, I guess to step into the visionary role.
Yeah.
I had become the operator.
Yeah.
And it felt diminishing in a way, constraining.
Pressure. You were doing all the things,
yeah, and
man.
I couldn't grow, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't pursue curiosity and inspiration because I was trapped in this daily grind of putting out fires within the business. And so it's funny because that the retreat in Costa Rica helped me so much recover that energy and the inspiration and the motivation. And you called it a time. It was almost that experience in that Airbnb was almost a cry for help. And yeah, it's such an interesting reflection that I was trying to step in. I was doing something I had never had experience with, right? I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I was an engineer, an executive manager at a corporation. This path I was never guided into it in a way. Didn't have coaching or encouragement or anyone in my life. I didn't even know any entrepreneurs. I didn't know a single entrepreneur when I quit my corporate career. And I just started figuring it out, just learning and going. All I knew was that the corporate structure was stifling to my creativity and my curiosity. And I wanted a path out of that. What I enjoy about real estate, the reason I chose real estate, is I like to think that I'm a creator. I also have a very analytical mind. What I love about real estate is that it's tangible, it's experiential. So this studio, for example, I can feel your vision. It's tactile. I can see it. I can hear it in the music you play and the breath work you do. I mean, it's such an encompassing representation of your vision. And I think that it's shareable in a way that a lot of vision is not, right? It's experiential of your vision. It influences my experience. Your experiences influence my experience. And so I was always fascinated by that aspect of real estate. And real estate is incredibly complex. Development is architectural, construction, market analysis, investment, underwriting, management. I mean, there's so many pieces that you have to execute to have a successful project. And you get to exercise creativity in every single piece. And I love that about it. And so for someone like me who enjoys pursuing their curiosity and their interests, it's like an infinite playground. I mean, there is no limit to the scope in which you can apply real estate.
Attached to the right vision, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A vision that you're like emotionally invested in.
Yeah.
It's far easier to raise money for a concept when it's from your heart as your unique design and your vision that you've cultivating.
Yeah.
Gets people excited about something.
Yes.
When I think about the work that you do, I get envious of the ability to make something that was nothing,
Mm-hmm.
that you could drive your car and have your great grandkids and you could point and go, you see that?
Yeah, exactly.
That you can do this. You see these buildings, it all started with someone's thought, someone's vision, and they got other people that could share in the vision, that get excited about it, got emotionally attached to it. And we can make anything.
Yeah. The tangible aspect of it creates legacy, right? It creates influence. Not legacy from a material perspective, but to your point, these are structures. These are experiences that last. So I can take my children. One of our buildings, our projects is right across from the Science Center. And I remember taking my daughters there and looking across the street and seeing a project that I'm working on with them and being able to walk through it and touch it and feel it. And your vision is crafting, and you get to experience that and you get to share that experience with others. And it's just an incredible feeling to be able to offer that and to see it. And
it's also cool about this, building something that came from just a thought, thoughts become things, is when you're talking to investors. Investor typically is someone who is making money doing something, from a business. And they're taking this piece of paper and then turning it into vision. And they can have a joint vision with you. And you can turn your paper into a physical thing that can give you a return. That can be another source of income.
Yeah.
It could also be a place to be.
Yes.
And that's why I'm excited about your project that you invited me to in Mexico, because it's a vision of many people. And it's not just a property to give us a return. It's also a property for me to experience my vision in that property with other people that are doing cool stuff around the world. I mean, that's what ignites me. And I feel like you're creating a space that we can call home.
Yeah.
Especially when, you've been going through a winter time where you're huddled up and you're cold and you're going through the same routine and you're lacking inspiration. You're in the rut. You're stuck. You're mud is all around you, that you can escape, get on a plane, go to a place and get unstuck with a bunch of other conscious, powerful, inspirational beings that you can be fired up. So you get there and light up. Let's get our candles lit. Let's start lighting it up.
Yeah.
And so it's more than a piece of property for income.
Exactly. I think it's reciprocal, right? To your point, from an investment standpoint, it's an exciting investment. It has a large potential, a high ceiling. But from an experiential standpoint, we get to share in a vision. We get to step away and reconnect with ourselves and with others, rejuvenate, and create this vision that can really be anything. I mean, that property is a blank slate. And it has such deep cultural and historical roots that are inspiring.
Maybe you could tell our audience a little bit about the property and give us a little synopsis of what.
Yeah. So this is a 10-room boutique hotel located in Izamal, which is in the Yucatán Peninsula in Mexico. It's an 18th century hacienda, which haciendas were they're almost like palaces that the governors of the region built. So this is an authentic historical structure. It would have been the owner of the town of Izamal that built this. And it sits on 80 acres. So it's immersive. It's this grounding experience. I mean, you felt that when you were there, that's such a heavy structure. You can feel it, the energy when you're there. And the town itself is so beautiful. I mean, the people are happy. One of the things I appreciate most about Mexico is just their connection to community and the openness that they connect with. Their doors are open. Their children are playing in the street. You don't see people stuck in rooms watching iPads and stuck on their computers. It really feels like a community that we've lost touch with in our lives in the US. And so when you're surrounded by that type of culture, I think it really grounds you to what's important and what's enjoyable. And you sort of find your vitality. The whole town is painted yellow. It was a Mayan capital. It has 5 pyramids in it. Art culture, food culture. And everyone's just open and sharing. And they're running around in the squares of the town. It's just beautiful. And the region itself, I mean, there's a reason that tourism to that area has increased by 50% since 2019. I mean, most places were on a rise, and then the pandemic hit, and they're just now catching up to pre-pandemic numbers. The Yucatan has outgrown its numbers. The government has invested in the expansion of the airports. 3 or 4 international airports in the region. And Mexico just completed in December the largest public infrastructure project in the history of the country. And that's the Tren Maya. And it connects the international airports on a loop with these towns that Mexico has identified as culturally and historically significant. In this little town of Izamal, that's an hour outside of Merida, the capital of the region, got to stop on the train line. And so I think it's just going to open a lot of access to international travel, to interest in the region. And I think it's a period of growth. I think the trends in the travel industry, the wellness travel industry is now over $1 trillion globally. It is growing at a rate of 15% annually. And Mexico is actually the number 1 market for this type of travel that's a developing country. So of the developing countries, Mexico is the number one revenue generating country in the world. We've talked about biohacking. So that's the enhancement of physical and cognitive performance. I think there's increasing support and recognition of the importance of that. And that is a burgeoning industry as well. It's almost $25 billion today globally, and it's estimated to grow at over 20% annually. And so I think that, there is a community of conscious travelers, high performing entrepreneurs that see the value in this type of experience. And when you can create a place that you're able to step away and recharge and connect with people to form deep connections with yourself and with others, I think it can be a transformative experience, not just for the traveler, but also for the investor.
Well, you got to think about all the people that you impact. If I am stuck and I go to your property and I get reignited because these other people or relationships or connections or business opportunities that exist with people that are doing awesome things and making these international connections in a space where they're all being elevated, and they go home and they're working with their team, they're bringing that energy back to their employees, to their investors, to their clients, their vendors, their town. They're taking this, you go there, get lit up, go to this place, you do these modalities, but do them with people that are also conscious traveler. I love the word conscious travelers. It sounds so perfect because I want to be around other people that are doing fun things, that are igniting others through just showing their light and just getting excited. What other, right now we have a facility of 10 rooms, but where do you see it going?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is where the opportunity really lies for me, right? It's a 10-room hotel, but it's on 80 acres. I mean, you have an unlimited opportunity to build and develop and craft this experience that inspires others and you. And from an investment standpoint, we're doing projects in Louisville right now, and it's $550 a square foot to build a concept and furnish it and create that experience. In Mexico, it's $45 a square foot. I mean, you have an opportunity to actually execute vision with very little limitation, right? So it's essentially what I envision is a space that you can go and visit and that nourishes you, that reconnects you with yourself, and has these systems and these supports and these facilities to really be inspired. It combines this. Another thing I like about the region, right? I think another trend right now is recognizing traditional culture, right? Understanding the ancient wisdom of these cultures and the pieces we've lost touch with, right? And so that setting is so important because you have a Mayan culture and a Mexican tradition. And when you can combine those pieces, that traditional wisdom and practice, to a modern experience of luxury and rejuvenation and technology, you really, I think it just facilitates that connection with yourself and with others. Mm-hmm. And so I think that location is so important for that cultural experience as well as the personal experience. And so when I think of what can be developed on this site, we talk about the existence of a cenote, right? Cenotes were sacred to the Mayans. They were healing. They were spiritual.
Explain what one is.
Yeah. So in the Yucatán, there's no above ground water in the Yucatán. So it's all limestone, and the water has carved out, these underground rivers have carved out massive cave systems. And so cenotes are portals to those systems, essentially. They occur naturally when a ceiling or a roof of that river collapses. They can also be excavated. So this site has an underground river running just behind the main hacienda structure. And we intend to excavate a part of it to allow access to this sort of really spiritual experience and this natural beauty that exists in that region. And I find water to be extremely cathartic. I love the ocean. I love swimming lakes like the one you have here. And I think that there's such a deep human connection to water. And I think that's what the Mayans saw in cenotes. Right.
Yeah. And I also imagine, going underground and having this, instant drop in temperature.
Yeah.
And then to be with the water and the design of the rock formation and just looking at it and then seeing this clear, clean water that you can hang out in and jump into and
enjoy,
like
play.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah. And I mean, it's natural. It's the weight when you're underground, to your point. I mean, the weight of the world is around you. It's grounding. It's
you're in earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, there are features like that we can use. We will offer spa services, body work, traditional healing ceremonies. The Mayans have a really rich culture and healing ceremony. And food, right? We've connected with some of the top chefs in the region, world-renowned chefs with restaurants on the world's 50 best list. We're going to help design this menu, and we have local farmers who are going to help create a food garden that we can provide healthy, clean, garden-to-table food for our restaurant. We have yoga shalas. I mean, there really is, again, there's no limit to what you can establish. The vision is to create a healthy and rejuvenating and luxurious space for people to connect with themselves and with others. Mm-hmm. And it's building a system around that and a structure around that encourages that experience.
What I love about what you're bringing with this property is your vision is bigger than this property. Like, I know we've talked offhand and this idea of having a membership, that this could be many places.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a global network, right? And each location, there's so many places around the world with a rich cultural heritage and traditional culture. I think of places like Turkey and Morocco and Greece, and Asia, and we have something to learn from every one of those places, right? It's the community has a consistent experience, but also a unique experience in every location, right? You're inspired by different pieces of every culture. And I think the spaces are open to travelers, right, that are non-members. We want to facilitate this experience for everyone who's interested, who's conscious. I also think that this membership structure, where you are joining a community and you have access to these places all over the world for private events and retreats, and a network that's established of like-minded individuals, where you can go and, not only experience the hotel itself, but then your private spaces and your private community that are prepared for you, that know you personally, that have tailored a service and experience specifically for you. I think that's really where the main benefit as an individual comes from.
Yeah.
And I just think it's what a cool experience to have, where you can go, you can experience a community and a network without being tied to a specific location. You can find this inspiration all over the world, right? And it's a different inspiration everywhere. I mean, it's a life I want to live. I think it's a life a lot of people would want to live.
Yeah. And what I sense out of this is like, your creation of this vision is you're just trying to create the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
And you're inviting other people to come along, right?
Yeah.
You can come along as an investor, or you can come along as a visitor.
Hopefully you'll be both, right?
Yeah.
An investor will be a visitor and a member of
Yeah.
the community. And that's the mission we're trying to achieve. It's a personal vision based on personal experience. That trip to Costa Rica, I think as an entrepreneur, you can understand how all consuming building a business can be. You lose touch with yourself and your presence and the people around you that you care most about. And there are cycles of stress and anxiety and overwhelm that come from that. And in Costa Rica, that ability to disconnect from the habit and the loop of that emotional state and connect with yourself again, experience appreciation, and then to build on that with others. It was transformative for me. It really inspired me to have courage and confidence in myself and to continue growing. I think there's such a tendency to, when you're in that state, that cycle, to place sort of these artificial constraints on yourself, right? These imagined constraints. It's a feeling of scarcity rather than abundance. And to create a space that allows you to reconnect with abundance, it's life-changing. And since March of last year, when I experienced Costa Rica and I gave up drinking, I don't experience sleepless nights anymore. This is a year later that I haven't even had a single sleepless night. When I was having them 4 days a week, it's life-changing. And it's reciprocal. So you, as the host of that experience, also benefited yourself. You experienced the same process, but you also experience others transforming. And so from a lifestyle standpoint, to have access to that personally, travel around the world and experience this inspiration, and then also to experience others, I think I can't imagine a life more rewarding than that.
Yeah, I'm totally feeling everything, because we are going through this shift in the world. Not only is technology changing at a rapid pace, but levels of consciousness are very strong. People are really leaning into connection with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the magic of a connection with another person, it can happen in your own hometown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can have a good connection, but when you flip it, you get on a plane and you go to another place and you hear new culture, sounds, and language, and you get in an altered state naturally through travel with other conscious people, having deep conversations, not conversations about the game, not conversation about your job, not conversations about things in the news. No, this is like conversations like, what are you building, dude?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be uncomfortable because it's like, you know what? I don't know what I'm building. I'm stuck. I'm not building anything.
Yeah.
And some of the biggest shifts that I've had in transformation is to recognize that I'm not creating.
Mm.
And then I go, oh, that's why I'm not doing well. That's why I'm living in scarcity. I'm not making or creating anything. Of course, that's what I'm supposed to do. It's like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, I know what I want to create. Like as soon as you shift your mind over and go, what I want to create, like your heart is like, yeah, dude, exactly.
Yeah.
Make this.
Yeah.
And then when you see that happening with other people in the room, and then other people are like, they're like, whoa, yeah, I'm stuck too. Yeah. Or maybe they're making something they were making for money,
Mm-hmm.
for someone else, and they want to make something for themselves.
Yeah.
And so you get that shift, and then, you know, you take what any observer would just think is, oh, you went on vacation. No, I transformed, and look at the energy I brought home. And then a year later, look at the energy that quote unquote vacation was. No, it was not a vacation. It was an invitation to your vocation. Like it becomes who you are and what you want to be.
Right.
And the thing that I've been following and trying to like express, not because I'm I know the way, I know what I need. I need to do what I love with people I love. And so I talk about it a lot because I can try to be better at embodying that because I get lost.
Yeah. Well, and I think, to your point, we're such creatures of habit, right? I think that generally we don't have a lot of neuroplasticity, and that's where these loops enter, right? You have the same routines every day. You have the same mental loops every day. And I think we naturally seek altered states of consciousness, right? Some people find that in drinking or abuse of substances. And when you can offer a healthy state of altered consciousness by traveling and by nurturing yourself, and you disconnect from the daily routines and habits that have brought you to where you're struggling, right? When you experience that shift and the ability to cut that cord, right? If you go from your house where I wake up at the same time every day to the same alarm, and I eat the same breakfast and have the same coffee and go to sit at my laptop in the same room, and all of these things that our life just channels us into the same habits, and you've moved to a new setting, right? You are inherently prevented from entering those loops. And when you're in that space, you have the ability to form a new connection with yourself and with others, and your inspiration, your dreams, vision, right? And I think that's what's so powerful about creating a space like this. You're giving people a freedom. You're giving yourself a freedom to experience what you enjoy about yourself, about life, and what you can be excited about. Right?
You know, what's cool about what you're saying is,
and it's contagious.
Oh my gosh,
right?
It's so contagious.
That's what's so cool, is that it's so energizing because it's so contagious. And so then, to your point, you bring it back to where you left, and now you have a new awareness, right? And that awareness lasted for me a lot longer than I expected it to. You know, I didn't fall back into my same routines. Now, I think I've been on vacations before that feel really good for a week because I'm sitting on the beach and I'm reading and, you know, I'm just experiencing relaxation. But you can experience relaxation and you can also transform, right? That can happen in a very short window if it's in the right setting with the right structures in place and the right service to offer that. And so what we're creating is not just a luxury destination that's relaxing and you're getting massages and swimming and enjoying yourself, but you have an opportunity to transform and to reconnect and have that energy and that excitement that you might have lost along the way. You know, and I think I have a very technical background in engineering, and it's sort of been an evolution for me to even accept this term conscious traveler or conscious entrepreneur. You know, it seemed sort of hokey to me in the beginning, right? Until I experienced it and really learned what that meant, right? It's sort of still countercultural, right? But now you're seeing these proponents of that come out. I mean, these are celebrities, CEOs, business owners,
politicians now.
Politicians. You know, I heard that the Davos was going to Burning Man. I mean, these people, everyone is starting to understand the power and the importance of this type of experience. And I think that recognition is contagious.
Yeah. And you have, we as a society have been trying so hard to be so smart. And when you know something, it's different than the knowledge that's stuck in our heads. Like, to know something, and that's this consciousness opportunity that it's been a struggle for me to like lean into all this preconceived judgment that I used to have of like hippie culture and like, you know, all these love and and just, I used to just be like, roll my eyes, please. Yeah. But when you are with a group of people and you start to breathe together, and then you go deep and you're around people that ask you hard questions.
Yeah.
About life, make you think, make you like, almost like they're just sticking a stick in your spoke of your wheel of your bike, and you're just like, whoa, you can't move any. You're like, yeah, that's a really good question. And that's why I'm excited about this conscious traveler thing, because I imagine, you know, the dining room space in this property is like next level. Like the views, the building is not a room you've ever sat in before. These super tall ceilings, super thick walls, big, giant rooms with history. And then I'm just imagining these beautiful people on the inside having real human connection and asking questions that I need to be asked, but they're from a different country or different culture. And giving me a different viewpoint. To have like these powerful, I'm just imagining this like dining room space where we're just jamming on life and asking people like, what are you going to do this year? You know, what's this year look like for you? And someone's talking and you're like, oh man, that fires me up. And then this person, and then you start to like, oh, there's a lot I could be doing and taking action on. And then you leave and you're like, you bring that energy back home. Yeah. And then you go back, and I kind of look at it like, you know, every time you come back to the property, you're this new software version, Bobby 1.4, you know, arrival.
Yeah.
And, you know, the staff knowing my evolution.
Yeah.
And then also challenging the staff, their own evolution.
Yeah.
And they're going to be in a space with these people that will really get them to really open up.
Yeah.
So they can take it back to their family, so they can be inspired too. So this is a collective of people who like see the world as possibility.
Yeah. I think there's a few points on that. I think this space is communal, right? We want to have our concept for the dining area, right, is a large communal table, seat up to 50, right? So you're sharing experiences and dialogue throughout that evening. It's also personal, right? So you can treat yourself. This is to nurture yourself as well. This is not just for the communal traveler. This is for someone who wants to reconnect with themselves and their passion, their body and their mind, right? So you can experience the spa and you can have a personal treatment. You know, I think it's really difficult to connect with a community if you're not connected with yourself. So you're creating a space that allows you to connect with yourself. And then when you're ready to connect with others, right? And I think it's not for everyone either, right? So not everyone wants to be introspective and reflective and have this community, right? But we want to create that culture, right? I don't.
No, it's, you know, yeah, I like you getting to this space where we're not for this, to be able to articulate who you're not serving. You're not serving that person that's coming to Mexico to go to Cancun and have an all exclusive, all you can drink and all you can eat fest, so you can forget about the vacation you just went on. You can forget about the people you connected to. I mean, that isn't the vibe that we're trying to create. We're not creating a place with a dozen TVs to draw your attention, to be distracted about the existence of your life. And so you giving honor to that and that vision is going to make this property freaking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how could one find out about you and your project?
Well, and this is to cut and disconnect a little bit. Again, with the thing that I love about crafting a vision through real estate, through this tangible experience. I mean, when you go to a place like the Hacienda, right? It's tactile, stone, heavy structures, nature. You can feel water, you can feel the gravel. It's also auditory, right? You can hear things, you can hear silence, you can hear the birds, the nature, you can hear other people, you can hear music. You can craft a complete sensory experience, right? every single one of your senses is activated.
Mm.
And you can just become, it's transports you, right? And that's what's so fascinating about it. To be able to have an idea, something that inspires you personally, and to be able to curate and create this completely encompassing experience for yourself and others is something that I don't think hardly any other industry can offer. Right? So how to connect with me? Yeah, well, this is interesting. So one of the journeys I've been on recently is sort of stepping into my own personal brand, right? I mean, I've been in real estate as an investor, a developer. I manage real estate businesses. And so I want to step in my own personal brand, create a presence for myself as a creator in the space. The best way to contact me is through phone, email. I like the conversational dialogue, right? I'm not at a point now where I'm putting out a lot of media, creating a lot of media around my personal brand. I'm probably not easy to find on things like LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. But I really value the personal connection.
Yeah.
So, reaching out personally is the best way to connect.
If
I'm happy to provide my phone number.
I'll make sure there's some links to get back to you, and I'll make sure if anybody's interested in getting back with you, we can.
And I think even this is not just interested from an investment standpoint, right? I mean, this is what I think is so rewarding about this concept, is that you don't have to be an investor to gain and benefit from it, right? I mean, you've introduced me to people like Joel and Blake who won't be investors of the project, but because they have an aligned interest, just sharing those ideas. And that's what the whole point is, right? It's this sharing of an idea and experience the creativity of others that is inspiring.
Yeah. Matt, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah.